What's up, everybody? Welcome to Cool Greg's Concrete Genie launch party. I'm non-cool Greg. This is Cool Greg.
Hey, what's happening, everybody?
How excited are you to play Concrete Genie today, Cool Greg?
Bro, I've been waiting for this for a long time. Not necessarily the stream, but to get my hands on
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Okay. Over here, this is Dominic, creative director of Concrete Genie. Hello, welcome to the stage, sir.
It's awesome to be here.
And rounding out our group, it's Jeff, the art director on Concrete Genie.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for coming in. How does it feel to be Cool Greg's most anticipated game of 2019?
It's awesome.
There we go.
When Cool Greg walked in for the first demo of Concrete Genie, what did you think? With the childlike wonder in his eyes, so excited for this game.
Well, I actually wasn't there when this was happening. It was one of the other team members. Were you there when Cool Greg was playing at E3 the first time?
I wasn't at A3.
But we heard this kind of already mythical tale that there was one person who was in the press area playing the game and just loving it.
Yeah.
And I switched on and watched the video that you guys made, and it was blown away. It's our favorite video.
Oh, yeah.
Cool Greg, why does Concrete Genie speak to you?
Oh, man, the idea of writing on walls it excites me, bro.
I understand that quite a bit. Now, as obviously you've held off. You've seen it. You've seen Concrete Genie. You've had your copy now for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You've held off on playing it because you wanted to start the stream with your initial reactions. You actually playing through the game, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's right. Before you get there, though, there's one thing.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have something?
So, Cool Greg, we were inspired by having you come and visit us, and we made something special for you. This is a one-of-a-kind piece of artwork created just for you, and this is for you.
That's amazing, bro. I appreciate.
Look at that. Cool Greg,
that's
Concrete Genie. You know, turn it to the
amazing.
camera there, the one with Barrett there.
Autographed by the whole team.
And it's all signed by the entire team.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
We're going to have to get that frame,
There
Cool
you go,
Greg.
buddy.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Thank
your support and interest in our project, too.
Yeah.
Hey.
Love it.
Thank you guys so much, man. I really appreciate it.
We really appreciate all
Okay,
of your support as well.
Greg.
Ooh, I see the Ashwin. The character's named after this guy.
Oh, is it? Is that really? Wow, he knows the whole
That's
backstory on
true.
Ash and everything else.
Yep.
Here, you want me to box it back up for you? Guys, while Cool Greg starts the game, I guess for me, the question is, where does Concrete Genie begin? Because it's one of those things, I remember its announcement, I remember running into you, obviously I've known you guys for a while, but playing the VR, being blown away by it, and then sitting down and, legitimately being blown away by this game. Where does the idea come from?
So many years ago now, we were doing our concept phase after we finished our first game, Entwined, and we came up with a whole bunch of different ideas. And we run the team with a flat hierarchy, so everybody gets to come up with ideas for what we may make. And Ashwin, which you just mentioned, he's the VFX artist on our team, and he was the one who came up with the original idea. And he did this amazing painting that he made to communicate the pitch, basically. And it was this picture of a small kid being bullied, and he was painting these huge characters on the wall and imagining them sticking up for him against the bully. So loads of the things that have survived to the end, to the shipping point for this game were there from that very first image, the painting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's rare, right?
It's super rare.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the game kind of, followed its own path as we went from that day one to where we ended up. And it went off, but it came back to that. And I think that kind of resonated so strongly with the team, and it inspired everybody. And that was really where it kind of caught light after seeing that first picture.
So ballpark, how long ago was that?
It's about 4.5 years ago.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
So then what's it like to be here? Like actually seeing the game. It's done. It's finally out of your hands. It's into the world's hands.
Yeah.
It's emotional, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's so much heart and soul from every single team member that's put into this game. I've certainly never been a part of anything that has been as kind of raw as in a way.
Sure.
Like it's such a transparent representation of the emotional and creative integrity of every single person on the team, that getting it out there is you feel more vulnerable than you usually do at this point. And so to get it out there and not just see amazing reviews, which is great. But to see gamers getting their hands on it and connecting with it emotionally is really touching.
Yeah, I think, the fact that it's been adopted and touched people the way it has really speaks to what a special game it is. And for me personally, that was what I took away from it, right? Like my tweet about it, and we're going to have Gamescast tomorrow to actually review it. But it is like, it's a children's storybook meets the Goonies, right? Like it is this thing where it starts, and I think even from right here, and granted we're talking over and ruining it, but like the animation quality, like the style you have for Ash as he writes here, going into these flashbacks of what the world was, and like for here it to be so happy, later on to meet the bullies and have it not be happy, right? The way you guys mix art styles and the way the game changes throughout, where it's, even when I thought I had it, I'm like, okay, cool, I know what this is, it's relaxing, it's this. There comes a point, right, where there's a tipping point, probably the last fourth of the game, where it's like, oh wow, there's a whole bunch of new stuff happening here, a whole bunch of different things going on. Like, I put it down, I was like, I couldn't put it down, I platinumed it last night, but I put it down that first time, I was like, this is something incredibly special.
That's really kind of you to say. Yeah, the journey that the story and the gameplay has gone through has been pretty interesting. But again, a lot of those elements were there from the first prototype. So once we started developing the story and the kind of gameplay elements that we wanted to deliver that story with, we knew that the finale to the game was going to have some way of tackling the negativity and the darkness head on, rather than taking revenge on the kids that were pushing you around. We really wanted this story to be about breaking that cycle of kids that get bullied, turning into bullies themselves, and that's what that end fourth is all about. And then from a gameplay perspective, there's some pressure that builds up over the course of the game from being pushed around by the kids. And this really lets that out in a really fun and kind of powerful way. And a lot of the mechanics in both parts of the game are about imagining creativity and self-expression as powerful things, and really they're kind of two versions of that, two sides to that coin, basically.
So, Jeff,
yes,
how hard is it to art direct a game where the player is the artist?
Yeah, it was. It's kind of a dream come true to work on a game like this, but it's also incredibly challenging because right from the start we really wanted to make sure that you don't have to have a degree in art to enjoy this game. And we spent a lot of time, and a lot of we've been working this for a number of years.
Of course.
A lot of that was developing the painting tools. Not only did they create the painting from a dev point of view, but from a creative point of view, to make every stroke that you create, make it feel like it comes to life. So we put a lot of effort into that. And then art style wise, I'm really lucky in that the art department is, this idea came from our team. So there's a lot of passion that they put into every piece that they create. But we're so tiny. The whole world that you're seeing, the 3D world, was modeled by just two people.
Which is ridiculous. Again, I mean, I don't pretend to make games ever, but to know, I think, how, especially finishing it, the quality of the game, like I'm talking about here with the cutscenes, but then the environment and the gameplay, and how I mean, we're talking about painting and how beautiful it is and all that stuff, how much fun it is to climb, how much fun it is to explore. The idea that this entire world is put together by two people, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's really fun for me too to have the game out. But when I look at the game now and watch people playing, and I think of our team members, like our main character was designed by one of our animators, Lucy Roberts. But she also not only did animation, but she hand draws every frame of Ash's face.
Oh wow!
Because that's all 2D hand drawn animation. So there's no question that there's a lot of the team's passion is in every frame to some degree.
Yeah. So then, Dom, what was it like to get to that precipice of you're releasing a game that's so connected to everybody into the wild, let alone the review embargo?
Yeah, it definitely made it more intense, and we comforted ourselves with just being really happy and proud with where the game ended up. We've been fortunate to have a lot of time to get the painting mechanics to where we wanted them to be. And so, there's always that moment. And Sean Layden had this great phrase, which is, art takes time, but real art is shit. And I always love that phrase, and it's true. It's a great way. It's like you have to put it out there, otherwise it's not art until somebody experiences
until somebody else is playing it, somebody else
exactly.
is dealing with it.
Yeah, and it's a real pleasure to be able to explore the 3D world as far as art direction and the 2D world. So there's really two different.
That's a great point. I didn't think about
forms of art that we've explored.
We're going to get to it in a second, obviously, when Cool Greg gets a little further with Ash and goes into his book and starts painting on the walls. But how hard was it to come down on what the actual designs you gave the players were? Because, obviously we have like sun, moon, grass, flowers, these different things, but I can only imagine how many things were left on the cutting room floor for that.
That's a good point. But one of the things that happened as we developed all of the painting mechanics is we wanted to make every single one feel like a toy to some degree.
Yeah.
And that meant that each time you use them, they hopefully reveal a little bit more about how they work. And so there's actually some other things that affect how each one draws, apart from, say, the speed or how big the stroke is. A lot of them respond to pressure on the analog trigger, so how far you push the trigger down can change the brush. And that really was just to help people encourage experimentation, really, and so that you do get a lot of ways to express yourself, even though we're doing a lot to make what you do look good.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that helped filter, because we don't want stamps, we don't want stickers, we want every single brush to be something that you look at and go, I did that.
Yep.
But it looks awesome.
And that's been one of the, I think, impressive things about it so far, and I grant you it's the tip of the iceberg, but having come out of that and had it been, I'm playing before it's released, so it's a very personal solo experience, to get to where it is now, and I see people sharing their screenshots, and it's like, wow, like, I never even thought you could do that,
Yeah.
One of our friends wrote Greg sucks in flowers the other night. I was like, dang. Or apples. It was an apples. I was like, thanks, Panda Musk. I didn't see that coming. But yeah, that's something cool you could do. But beyond that, the way you branch out trees, you know what I mean? The way you attach lights between them. It's awesome.
It's interesting watching other people off the team paint with it, because like you say, they do things that you don't expect. But that's part of making an open-ended tool set, is that, it helps people just experiment and have fun with them. And the first time we saw somebody use the replay feature in the screenshot mode, which was something we really wanted to do, but we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it in time. And it was super important for this game, obviously, to have photo mode in from day one.
Yep.
We didn't want to do it unless we could get that special twist, because we need something different about this photo mode. And seeing how creative people are already being with that is like, oh my God. We were in the cab on the way here, literally just seeing the latest stuff that people have shared. Yeah. And it's just amazing. That is very rewarding.
If you're not familiar, of course, the photo mode in this game is the photo mode you'd expect. Your tilts, your this, your gammas, your all the things that I don't understand, but I make my photo look pretty with. But then on top of it, there's a replay feature that if you hit, it'll rewind and then go forward with your thing, and it'll replay your painting coming to life.
Yeah.
Which I talked about this earlier privately with you, right? Of like how well you guys did with the trophy list in terms of making it attainable and having me explore the world. Something I didn't say is like, you have a trophy attached to replay, right? Again, in the vacuum of me playing by myself, I had done a bunch of different photos already and never used replay. Right. So when I saw the one there, like replay, and I did it, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been sleeping on this feature, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad that worked out.
So how big is the team? We keep talking about it's a small team. Everybody's personally invested and attached to it. How big is the team?
So in the last year of development, it definitely changed a little bit, but it's never gone over 20 people.
Wow.
And so for most of the development of that kind of 4 and a bit year stint, we were around the kind of low 10, so like 12, 13 people.
Louise. Yeah.
And then we went up to kind of 15, and then we've hired a few more. We've kept the intern vibe going. So we've been really lucky enough to have some amazing interns work on the project as well, and that gives you really good extra firepower there as well. And we've hired some of them and kept them on, but we've never gone over 20 people. Gotcha. Hopefully we keep it that way. Things change when you go over 20 people with a team. We've both worked on massive AAA game teams. And I think there's something very special about being able to share a vision between a small group of creative people across those disciplines, and kind of work like that. And modern tools and middleware allow you to do that and still make something that looks like this.
Yeah. And I think that, again, is somebody who had really done VR mode and then seen a lot of trailers and obviously knows you guys. Coming into it and starting it, I was so surprised at how big a game it is and how real a game it is. You know what I mean? Of like the idea of like, even that it, it's got a box copy, right? But it's, it's at a smaller price point, right? 30 or 40, I forget.
It's $29.99, and the digital deluxe version is $10 more than that.
So see, I was right on both accounts. But it's the idea that like you don't. I guess the question I'm driving at very poorly. How hard of a sell to PlayStation was this to Sony? Because I always talk about on the podcast, right, that PlayStation 4 has been an interesting generation in the way that it started off from this gamer's first mentality, and I mean, still is obviously, but has moved to the AAA space, right? Like when they still were doing E3s, it was more about the AAA presentation, whereas PS3 was like, yo, you want to play this game where you're this weird zombie man walking people around Tokyo and they join on you? And you're like, I guess so, sure. Like, it was the, library of weird games. Like, I feel like this is the classic. Like, this is, to me, what PlayStation is.
Right.
And I don't think I see it as much anymore.
I think it's definitely in the company's DNA.
Yeah.
And making this game under that support network has felt very much, it's in the walls of the company.
Yeah.
But to be really honest, if you go right back to the beginning, this team wasn't started by us. We were there right near the very beginning, but it was actually started by Connie Booth, Ken Inagaki, and somebody else called Alex Lee. And they had wanted to find a new way of making games as efficient, and kind of be more exploratory and get back to that, I think, a little bit. And so the fact that came from, VPs and execs at the company, I think says a lot about how supportive. And they've just been amazing throughout the entire process. We do regular check-ins with them. And unlike other companies I've worked at, we would look forward to them because it sounds slightly cliche, but it's absolutely true. When you're slaving away on something and your nose is right in it, getting the perspective of people that have been guiding and overseeing games for 20, 30 years in some cases, and being confident that when they give you that feedback, however difficult it is, it's going to be delivered kindly, with respect, and also if you need it, you'll get more time to find what you're looking for. That is rare, and it's very, very special. And so between Connie, Ken, Scott, and Sean and Shu, we've been incredibly lucky to have patronage from people like that. And we've never felt those pressures that you would normally expect when you're making a game like this. It's definitely it's a very special relationship. I think it's quite special for first party as well to be that way.
And it's pretty unique to be able to have people like Ken and Connie be able to pick up a controller and play the game at a prototype stage where the artwork is pretty much just a gray box level.
Exactly.
And be able to feel the potential there. Feel how dynamic it feels from an animation point of view, and then the potential as far as where the gameplay is going, and kind of fill in the blanks with their imagination by looking at the visual development that we have. That is very unique.
I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough in our industry, and I mean my side of the industry, the gaming side, right, is that is such a different skill set, to the point that like I've had the luxury of occasionally, a developer, when they shouldn't show me a game they shouldn't, and it is like, wow, this could be great or it could be crap. I can't tell. I don't know. I do not know how this is going to net out. But when you talk about a team like that, or anybody who's been anchored that long, to sit there and play something that is rough and is gray box and is just mile levels laid out or T poses over there and temp dialogue, and like to be like, there's something here. I can't imagine.
No, you don't expect execs to have developer vision like that. So it's special.
Cool, Rick. How's it feeling so far?
I'm loving it, man.
That's
made.
Okay, good.
Met Lunish, brought her to life.
Yeah, exactly. Here in your lighthouse over here with Luna, big deal. You can already see what he's making. And this is, again, what I'm talking about. And like the idea of like, for me, it was such big trees. I loved big trees, right? But to see people come in and actually use mountains and hills in a way different way than I ever would. And like even later on when you get more like the wintry effects, like it's not that I stayed away from them. It's just that I was so much more already drawn to. I like walking up to a wall and having the grass all the way around the base, right? And then I go from there and start creating.
That's great. Yeah, one of the pillars for the art department is to make sure that everything feels like it's handcrafted. And even the trophies, the little illustrations are all tiny little paintings that we do using the Cintiq. So in other words, they're kind of painted by hand.
That's awesome.
And we did a lot of traditional 2D hand-drawn animation for previs, for making that tree come to life.
Yeah.
As we're really fortunate, and the art department has that kind of background. So it's like frame by frame, flip book animation.
So that's how that happened? Wow.
At a previous stage, and then that's converted into some pretty heavy tech.
Yeah.
So it's not flipbook in the game, but we use some amazing proprietary tools to make that come to life, including like ballistic tracking and some of the like the sun actually applies light into the 3D world, and then the genies have physics and AI. So it's a bit of like high tech and traditional combined.
Everything together, yeah. Not complicated at all.
Yeah, it is. That's what took the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you talked about the painting in the beginning that was used to pitch it. Did the genies look like this? How did you come to? It's such an interesting idea of like how you actually figured out what the genies would be, because I think when you say genie, everybody has a different idea, whether it be a dream genie, Aladdin genie, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's a really good question.
That's what I did.
So in that first prototype, you had a companion that we wanted to make you feel like you had created and painted, but you essentially filled out an outline, and it came to life, and you could kind of interact with it. And so we realized then that you didn't really feel very attached to it. And then we moved on to doing kind of Jackson Pollock style paint splatters in the wall.
Yeah.
And when you brought them to life, they would get kind of smiley faces and different expressions in them, and they could move more. And we realized that wasn't going to cut it either. And we went back to the drawing board and did it all again, and just kind of redid all of the painting in the game, and made it so that you could actually author everything with more agency and feel that connection to it. And that was when we thought, okay, now we're on something. Now you actually start to care about them. And because emotionally and in the story, right from the very beginning, they're meant to be the friends that he wished he had in real life, And so if you don't feel that, if the player doesn't feel that connection from making them, then it all falls apart.
Yeah, we actually put a lot of time into even how you paint them, as far as their features and details, affects how the personality that you get from an animation point of view. So we've got quite a few varieties of emotional animation that will come out. Some of them are more mysterious than others, or friendlier.
Starting the game, right, and I know you guys do it, you say, it's going to change and personalize. I remember like, all right, whatever. And then it wasn't until I'd really filled out the book, right, and I had so many different horns and hats, and it was like, wait, and then I started tweaking it, and you'd see it, right? You'd see those little changes in the character.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And then we always wanted to make sure that the genies felt like you weren't sure if they were going to be your friends or bite you. Make sure that they had more of a mysterious feel to them at times. Too.
Luna for sure has that throughout the game, where I was like, I'm like, is it going to go a different, am I doing the, I got to be, she's not part of this, right? And then wasn't.
Getting the all the voices right was also pretty challenging, because and originally we thought it would be quite straightforward, but then when you realize that part of that agency needs to give them a broad variety of voices, and we've ended up being able to work with a lot of different people in the company as well, which has been fun. So we managed to work with the sound designer from Last Guardian, who worked on Trico. He helped us with some of the voices, amongst others. And that that's one of the other great things about being a small team inside a big company. Is that if you need to, or you want to, you can reach out to people at different companies and talk to them, get advice. We've been really lucky as well at kind of internal conferences and events to be able to take the game and have people like Nate Fox at Sucker Punch play the game and give us great feedback.
I'm sorry, he's a terrible person.
And so, things like that are really, really helpful and a great benefit of where we are as well.
At what point when Nate was playing it did he turn to you and go, "This is just Delson from Infamous Second Son as a kid. You've ripped me off"?
You know what? That is an interesting point of conversation that we do go back and forth on, and I'm really glad you brought it up again.
That's what I'm here for,
Greg. I know. The funny thing about that, and it's we can see why people say that.
Sure.
It's one of those things that the character design for Ash went through so many iterations, and when he began, he didn't look anything like this. And somehow, of that final iteration, we changed the color of the hat, and didn't realize that how much that was like the final piece
You're like,
in the thing, kind of
this is
tilting it towards
100%
that.
Dustin Rowe.
Obviously, it's a huge compliment to be compared to that game, but it genuinely was not something that was in the mix. It's just kind of happened that way, really organically.
Yeah, I think a lot of it came from when we designed the city. We wanted to make sure that it felt like a port town, like a small city, similar to like Carmel or even like Pacifica. We think of that quite a bit. And and I think
and Astoria as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Goonies. That's a big part of it too.
Right, and I think his costuming comes from kids that might live in that area. So I think some of the parallels may come from the port town or growing up by the coast.
Now, the one thing we didn't talk about is you guys brought pins and copies of the game and notebooks and all this jazz.
Yeah, we did. I saw you chatting with Corey Barlog on.
Yeah, that's right.
So we do have some parts of that team edition that we made, and I know you're a fan of the notebook.
That's
as
right.
well. And then we also have some of the lobby cards somewhere as well. There we go.
What are the lobby cards?
So these are kind of some kind of art prints that Jeff selected that show some of the really nice concept art from the game, and some of the sketches that Lansing did for the Genie characters as well. So that's cool.
There's one page that we have that shows our character designer Lansing must have done, oh my gosh, hundreds of different Genie designs, and there's one card in there that shows an example of that.
I'll pull them up.
And then one of my absolute favorite parts we managed to get done is the pin badge sets. So these are awesome. And I think we have 4 complete sets here.
4 complete sets.
Oh, yeah.
Into the art here. Oh, I see what you're talking about with the cards now.
Yeah, so this is examples of the visual development. There's some of Lansing's Genie designs.
I like these a lot.
And it's really great our art department still uses, pencil and paper and pens at times also.
Yeah, we didn't quite manage to get a kind of special edition done officially for the game, but we really wanted to kind of celebrate that, and so we managed to cobble this together and get one made ourselves, and then we sent it out to a few people as well.
Big Kev Dog, what do you got for me?
Anton420 in the chat asks, will those be available for sale at any point?
You never know. I think we would love to do that. If enough people express interest, who knows what may or may not happen in the future. But it's great. We've seen people posting pictures and Corey sharing that as well. So hopefully, if there's enough interest, we'll be able to do something about that.
To move on, I just need to keep adding other layers.
You can keep going around. Actually, she's beckoning you on around the corner. So if you keep going.
Got it.
Yeah, you just got to keep lighting up the
that.
lights and stuff. Oh no, don't apologize, Cougar. You're playing for the first time. You're allowed to be told. You're allowed to ask questions. We're the one talking over the entire game. I'm sure some people in the chat have been like, "Man, Cougar just wants them to shut up so he can play his game and enjoy it." You're gonna have to restart the whole thing.
And if people want to see more of the visual development, we're lucky that we did work with Dark Horse, and there is going to be an Art of Concrete Genie book that's going to be coming out. So it's
I'm sure that'll be incredible.
That'll have some really great examples.
And I think that's out early in December, 12th of December maybe, so just in time for Christmas.
I originally asked, of course, about the copies on the game because I don't need a copy of the game, right? I have a digital one. Cool Greg's covered. In the chat, Super PV3 said, definitely going to pick this up when I get paid. We'll send you this copy. Don't you worry about it. Super PV3.
You hit him up or you
No, it's a thing I had to break out the chat. If you can do it, Kev, that'd be easier for you. All right. Super PV3. Thank you, bud.
I'll figure it out.
Well, I was in pop-out chat, so the whole thing was there, and then I'm like, whisper. Like, you can't whisper in pop-out chat. I'm like, I don't use Twitch enough to know what's going on. Someone get Fran in here.
There he goes. I got a whisper going to him.
Thank you, buddy. So how long did it take you guys to come to the light mechanic, right? Because again, as we get into the mainland here in a second, you'll see when Cool Greg brings up the world, you see the lights are the things where you need to paint to advance the story, to keep going and to get rid of the darkness. Yeah. Was it originally just paint everywhere and there's like a meter filling in? Did you toy around with those ideas?
We tried a lot of different ways to encourage painting in the game, and We even experimented with judging what you paint. And
wow, open yourself up to all sorts of things there.
Well, it's where you go when you're trying to turn it into a gameplay mechanic. How do you kind of gamify and quantify it and reward improvements and skill and mastery and all that kind of thing. And so one of the things that the lights were designed to do is make it clear where you had to paint and guarantee that you would paint, but not say what you have to paint or how you have to paint. So it was kind of, again, like fourth or fifth iteration on how to quantify what we want you to do in the game, and just encourage but not do anything that's going to shut down experimentation or make you feel like it's judging you in any way, because the thing that happens at that point is all of the mechanics are designed to make anybody feel like they can be an artist. And if any part of the game shuts that down, it feels awful.
Of course.
And so the lights were a really kind of optimistic and kind of positive way to encourage you to paint without saying what you have to do.
We also really wanted to make sure that the environment started to feel like it was changing as you are painting, not only adding, the color to the walls, but the city itself is sort of a palette for the luminosity of the color that you're bringing back to life.
Yeah.
So the lights are part of that. Even we, as Greg gets into the city, when he paints some of even the plant life kind of comes back to life.
Totally. That was what I noticed about it once you finish off that first section and move to the second section and go from somewhere where I've been painting, right, to a brand new section I've never been to, and see what it was like. It's the warmth. It's the way that it reminds me. And this is, I swear I wouldn't make this reference even if it was a multi-generational stream or whatever. But it reminds me so much of The Last of Us Part 2, the barn scene, where you're in that barn and there's the strings of lights and it's got that homey wedding. We're all family. It's warm, right? Whereas when you walk into the city the first time before you start painting, it's blue and it's cold and it feels dead, right?
Yeah.
Was there ever an argument or a discussion when you were making this game of if the genies would only be in his head? Because when I started playing the game, that was something I felt of am I escaping into my own world and just painting?
Absolutely. And that's been something that we've tuned and worked on. What we wanted was for that to be an open question.
Yeah.
And for each player to kind of discover the reality of that, are they real or not? And so you're meant to feel, is he painting? Is the movement imagined?
Yeah.
And it's why when the bullies are nearby, all of the life and the movement and the color just evaporates from the artwork and it kind of goes desaturated and freezes.
Yeah.
And that's a nod to that as well, that they don't have the imagination at that point to see the artwork in the same way that he does. And it's also meant to reflect how he feels when they're nearby as well. But that's all kind of tied into that same concept of is it real or is it not?
Interesting.
And then you find out the reality of that as you go through.
All right. I see what you're up to. Cool, Greg. You gonna cosplay as Ash for Halloween?
Thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get Corey Barlog to be my genie. he didn't respond to the tweet, but I'll get him.
We have a huge genie costume at work.
There you go. See.
So,
Corey, what are you doing? I know you're watching right now. I know you're not making God of War 2. You're probably just over there buying new Henley shirts to wear. You know what I mean? He wears the same white one every day, Kevin.
Oh, I just assumed that he had 50 of them.
Oh, I just assumed it was the same one every day because he's a smelly guy. That's what I heard.
Little newspaper clipping.
Yeah.
We're taking over. The Vandals in charge now.
Yeah. that is what's happening. John, you might be taking it the wrong way, cool guy. It might not be the message they're trying to send to you.
Hey, the person that got it was Super PV3, right? Not responding to the whisper.
Super PV3. If you don't respond, we break the disc right here in front of you.
I have to go to the post office right after this. So if we can get that name,
if you can figure it out, that'll be the fastest we've ever sent one out.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, those newspapers are meant to help fill in the backstory of what's happened in the town to explain why everyone's moved away.
Yeah. It's super sad.
Yeah, it is
You know what I mean? And that was the thing of obviously you're bringing light back to the world and stuff. It was I actually felt like I was accomplishing something because it seems like such a cool little town, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just gotten such hard times. But to see Ash's flashbacks to his good times there with his mom, right?
Well, and they're all sepia toned because he's got really fond happy
Yeah,
memories,
yeah.
whereas obviously the memories that you discover of the bullies are not like that at all and have a purple hue to them, which is mirrored in the darkness in the world as well.
And what I love about that is that I'm dumb. I say this all the time. I'm stupid. But that resonated with me. You know what I mean? In a way that like, I don't usually, I think, I don't even know, catch mood that way, understand like those. But like it all got here that when I started seeing the bully stuff, I was like, oh, this is different than Ash. And this is a different perspective and how this all actually nets out together.
It is relatable. It's very relatable. When we were dissecting that original concept and that idea and kind of getting inspired by it, the relatability of it was something that gave us courage to kind of move forward with it.
Yeah.
All of those backstories were from all the research that we did early on into the topic as well. So, we're really pleased with how that came together. We actually got to work with an amazing studio here in San Francisco called Oddfellows.
Okay.
And they helped us with all of those 2D.
Oh wow,
animations
really?
as well, yeah.
That's rad.
And they're also a really small team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, even all the, like we just saw some of the, posters on the wall. Those are even all just small little hand-done illustrations.
Yeah, I remember when I checked out their studios, they had them all on the walls.
Oh,
You
yeah,
actually
yeah.
read what they said.
Oh, that's cool.
So in the newspaper clip we just saw, and they said there's graffiti all over the place. Are they talking about Ash when he was younger or new stuff?
Which bit? Sorry, the vandals.
Yeah, little
That
newspaper
was
clipping.
about these kids kind of smashing the place up.
Got it.
Yeah.
So they're not even adding the art, cool, Greg. They're
Is that
just
graffiti?
destroying.
Is
No,
that
I know.
graffiti?
Well, you understand. It's like when normies call everything graffiti. You know, they understand like the art. You know what I mean? Because you're doing graffiti for good here, cool, Greg.
Yeah.
It's all for good.
Okay. Oh, it's all okay. Okay. Any kind of graffiti is for good. My apologies. I'm still learning the ways of graffiti. You understand? So we won't see it today because we're not set up for it. But talk to me about the VR. Was that something you guys had wanted to do from the start, or was that somewhere where PlayStation comes to you and is like, hey, we have this cool VR headset. Do you want to make something for it?
A bit of both. So once we got the concept to a point where we could pitch it more broadly within the company, we presented it, and there's such strong support for VR internally, as you would expect at the company. And when we showed it, it's a very natural connection. It's a game that has a painting mechanic. This would be amazing in VR, and we totally agreed. But at that point, we were literally 11 people, and we were getting to grips with Unreal. We changed engines and trying to build the concept, and we said we just don't have the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
And so at that point, Jeff and I reached out to some friends of ours that we had worked with previously, and Jeff Brown and Dave Smith. And Jeff had been working in VR for several years at that point at the Oculus Story Studio. And we showed him the game, and they came up with this amazing idea for what they would do if they could do something in VR with the concepts. And it was, what if you could step into one of your paintings and just go into the world of the genies and then carry on painting in 3D in a VR version of that. And we were just so blown away with that, and they talked about how they would do it. And again, we chatted with Ken and Connie, and were just really passionate about doing it, and asked if we could hire them and build a team around them next to us in San Mateo. And they're like, let's do it.
That's awesome.
And so they're an equally tiny, even tinier little group, and I'm so happy for them and thrilled with how it's turned out. And they've got a really bright future, which you'll hear about soon.
So where I start painting is going to be his face.
Yeah, so wherever you start the stroke, so you can do them upside down, or you go top to bottom, and then this is a really interesting thing, because when we've been doing our focus testing and having people play the game, you can't force people to do anything in a certain way, because it has to be free enough to support however anyone wants to paint it. And for a while, what we used to do, if you painted them upside down, we would flip the genie when it comes to life. And the problem then is that it doesn't quite look
Well, that's
how
not
you
what
would
I
expect.
did. Yeah, that's not what I wanted.
Exactly. And then again, the agency is broken. And so We just let them paint them upside down, and I kind of love how they look when you paint them upside down.
It was it took me the longest time. I mean, Cool Greg asked it here in his first like second Genie. Like for me, like literally, I was way late, and I was like, wait a second, and I started from the top, like all my guys had been faces down, giant tops, and all that stuff. I was like, I get it, I'm screwing it up.
And it's really fun as you collect more pages. You can really change their
totally
silhouette completely by adding a lot of detail to their bodies, and. I at first was I wasn't sure how that was gonna how it was gonna come across having them painted upside down.
Yeah.
But now I've seen people paint some just amazing characters.
Yeah.
I don't even think of it as being upside down anymore now. I think
it's just how it is.
This is how
it is. CK Wolf says that looks sick. CG. Talking about your Genie. He's a big fan of how you do your Genie. And then I Am Not Legend said, how essential is VR for this game?
Oh, it's completely complementary.
Yeah.
So you, it's a great additional experience. You have to have 2 Move controllers, and that's because you have one for your both hands, and you hold the brush and the notebook, and it's a one-to-one painting experience.
Yep.
So it's incredibly easy and intuitive to get into, but it's not critical.
Yeah.
It's very additive.
Same thing, again, about your trophy list being so well done that this game has the platinum, obviously, or this game has a platinum. The story mode is where the platinum is. The VR trophies are put in as basically DLC. They're there as a plus.
So you can still get the 100% on the main game, get the platinum,
Yeah.
Luckily, our producer and lead project manager, Brent, is super clued into all of that. And so he was like, this
I'm sorry, are you talking about Brent Goki?
I am talking about Brent
From
Goki.
The Tester? Yeah, I know Brent. Don't worry about it. I was super happy to see him pop up. When the credits started, I was like, oh my God, Brent, I didn't even know he was working on this one. That's
great. He made the transition. He's been over and he's been looking after us for years now.
Yeah.
Is he treating you all right? Because he texted me this morning saying, take care of you guys.
Yeah, no,
but now's your chance. Air grievances.
He's a legend. He's been amazing. Yeah.
It's really fun because if you paint the genies horizontally, they actually act more like dogs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they run a unique animation set also. And I think some of the animation was modeled after some of our animators' pets.
Yeah.
Actually.
I have a question for you about that. There is a black cat in this game who pops up every so often. And I just pet it. And then my Genie pets it once in a while, too. No trophies, no stories connected to it, didn't seem... Well, is there one in the very beginning when the first time I pet him?
Is there? I thought there was one for the cat, but
I think there's one for petting.
There might be one for the cat.
That might make sense because I think the first time I saw it in a giant open area, and then later on I see it like in a box, and it's got like that like purple like stars around it, and I was like, am I missing something?
There are several cats in the game, and they're all modeled on team members' cats, and we even have Connie's cats in there as well. But yeah, the one that you can actually pet, and he has his own AI, and he follows you around.
Yeah.
That one's Jeff's cat.
I didn't sneak him in there. It wasn't an Easter egg. It just happened that's the one in that shot. Yeah.
But there's a few hidden around. Some in quite surprisingly like well tucked away spots. But they're there, animating, looking happy.
I liked it.
Can I get a hand?
I like to imagine I'm in the Gravity Rush universe and somehow the cat that's head over.
Ellie wants a high five, Craig.
Go high five him, Greg.
Oh, a high five.
You got a square there, yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Now will you help me get through this?
Yeah, we even share some of the physics from Media Molecule on some of the 2D characters, and that's just because we're lucky to have a great relationship with some of the other studios.
Of course, yeah.
They've been amazing.
They have been so great. Siobhan, Abby, Tom Dent. The support they've given us, not just encouragement, but very, very super intelligent, smart advice on how to deal with making creative and open-ended mechanics.
They know it pretty well. They know it a lot, right?
Nobody knows more about that than they do, and how to make things accessible and intuitive and fun. Like making creativity fun is their thing. They own that, and so they've been so helpful and so supportive. And we were at one of those internal conferences showing the game, and we were giving a presentation on the painting of genies and how that all works. And we were trying to give all of the attachments and the fur that they have movement and make it all kind of dynamic, and because it adds so much. And we had a system in there and we presented it, and it was very expensive. Technically, and so they said, hey, we've got a much better way to do that. If we did this, and we could give you the physics system from Dreams, and you could integrate it into the 2D stuff.
Wow.
And they helped us do that, and suddenly the amount of genies that we could have running around on the walls went from like 3 to 17.
Wow.
So a massive, tangible, like quantifiable piece of help just from them coming up and offering that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to imagine that's the benefit of being with Worldwide Studios, right? Is that you have this, 13 people that are, or groups that are there. Like, they all have this tech. They all want to share. They all want to help. They all love making stuff. They all want everybody to succeed.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it's
Except Neil Druckmann.
It's a lightweight framework as well. I love how it's not mandatory. It's much more supportive in the sense that you can kind of go into that group and you're not forced to interact in any kind of way. It's very natural. It's very organic.
Yeah.
Every team and studio is allowed to be unique in how they operate and run. And so, the cultures are all very different in each place, but we all kind of sit and play nice together, which is great.
Careful now, Cool Greg. Don't get in trouble. Don't get caught. I hear those bullies. I don't want them bullying you, Cool Greg. I can't take it. My heart can't take it.
And when Ash is actually bullied, it actually affects the paintings that you've created on the walls. So, you'll
the
see.
more they see you?
Yeah, so when you're bullied, when your character's bullied, you'll lose the life in your paintings. Because it's kind of an effect of what's happened to Ash emotionally.
And it's kind of like a radar mechanism as well. So the more you paint on the walls, the more of help that you'll get to know when they're nearby, because you'll see the artwork start to kind of desaturate and die. And these are cool little things that we put in to to help encourage certain painting designs, but also we call them secret genie moments. Because one of the things that happens is all of the stuff that you paint, they'll interact with a lot of the things that you paint in certain ways, and we wanted to help encourage people to find and discover all those unique interactions. And so, these little paintings, these little white icons are hidden throughout the world, and every time you get a genie to them, they'll ask you to paint a certain setup.
And the more variety that you paint within the 2D landscape, they'll interact with things in the 2D world, and they'll interact with each other. And they run AI, so we're not always we don't always know what they're going to do, which makes some interesting screenshots also.
Yeah, I'm
as
sure.
far as what they're going to do.
Capturing all the trailer stuff has been ridiculous in some ways, because they do completely unpredictable things, like doing the story trailer. Because I do all the capture for those. Yeah. And you'll be sat there and you get this perfect take where they'll do something, and then like a genie will come in and photobomb right in the middle of the take, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it again. I know.
There's a really wide range of different kinds of brushes. Like Greg just dropped a bunch of seeds, and it actually will grow a whole forest in the background. So we want to make sure that people can make a whole world for the genies very, very effortlessly. And we do a lot of like color timing and mood, and
so it's just found on the other side of that block.
As far as in the palettes of the 2D world, so the color palette within those environments reflects how Ash is doing in the story also. So you see a really wide range of different worlds.
Yeah, some as well. And on the other side of this building is where that strands.
More super paint, yeah.
And we tried to design all the spaces as well, so you can do a lot of the painting from the rooftops.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I never tried that.
Yeah. So the idea is that the rooftops are much more Ash's space, and that's where he can be safe and kind of get away, which is why he has quite an agile parkour style moveset as well.
I would do the get on top of the rooftops, walk to the back corner, call the bullies, have them come. I'd run, hop down, paint what I needed to paint.
Yeah. We also want to make sure that there's a space so people can find like one corner of the rooftops and spend a lot of time making different compositions. And as you paint those 2D worlds, you can actually, if you don't like the composition, you can remove those items and then re-illustrate it.
Yeah. And you've got some down there as well.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a powerful moment at one point when the game actually does like the zoom around town and showed all of my paintings. And I was like, oh, right, that's cool. You don't even think in the moment how much you're doing and how much you're making this into your own watercolor, your own living world.
Yeah, that was adds up. Yeah, that was something that we we had in the well, it happens. I don't want to give it away. It happens later on in the game, and we thought it's so powerful that we wanted to make it part of every time you do it because it's a nice reward. It's also an interesting way of making the player aware that what you're doing can look really nice. You know? And quite often when we've seen people play, it helps encourage them to spend a bit more time painting each time they do it. You know.
Yeah, you know that there's a lasting effect on it. You're gonna see it again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all persistent as well.
We're into our final 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, of the stream. If you have
Oh
questions,
my God, it's flown by.
go ahead. Oh, no, well, that's because us. Me and Corey are the dynamic duo. You know what I mean? We keep talking about breaking off, starting kind of Greggy. Kevin, you can come.
Yay!
All right, good.
I get lost at the map. So
Yeah.
Which
So you're pointing at this block here, and if you see that, you can see the pages on the map as well. And so there's a sun page down there that you need, and then there's also a cherry tree page that's just up and around the corner behind you too. So what I would do.
And if you're looking for the bulbs, though, it's the white ones are
Yeah.
the ones that don't have any
Right,
need to get painted.
correct.
So directly behind you, there's a whole
There's a
circle
whole
there.
strand there.
And that cherry tree is definitely a brush you want to try.
Yeah, it's good.
We did quite a bit of
It's just around there, I think.
development
There it
on
is.
that particular brush.
Yeah, it's,
And it was one of the earlier brushes that we designed,
it's one of
but
my favorites.
it has a lot of love and care. It has
Yeah.
like almost 3 levels of different animation as far as it kind of continues to bloom after you make a brush stroke.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, if you go around here and then go and get the sun page, that should work out nicely. Go, 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 go. You can do it. You can do it. Woo, woo.
Got it. Let's go.
Drew Baca 1313 asks, will Cool Greg pop the platinum on this?
Oh, my first one? Probably.
Yeah. Extra
sounds
life's right
like
around the
it.
corner, man.
Ooh, you're right. Actually,
Yeah.
probably going to do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Not a good history of popping platinums, actually.
As somebody who's done this one, it's not going to take as long as Metal Gear. All right? Don't worry about it. Then Worms, Ants says, something about this game reminds me a lot of Psychonauts. And that's another thing I've heard, too,
Yeah.
from talking to people who've played it and then obviously reading stuff. Just like it does have a Double Fine like vibe to it, which is great because I
Yeah.
think it speaks to, again, Bay Area. But
Yeah.
the TLC put into it,
Yeah.
right? When I think of a Double Fine game, I'm thinking of very specific games and stories and things they want to do, right? That
Yeah.
are personal. Like that's
Yeah.
why, I think a Costume Quest, something I love.
Oh yeah.
It's a huge compliment as well.
Oh, definitely. We're huge fans of Double Fine.
And Jeff used to work there.
Yeah, amazing studio.
Tim Schafer, though, right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Tim is.
Legend.
Oh no, we like him. Okay,
he's-
yeah, I know he's good.
He's an amazing person.
you not love Tim?
I'm kidding around. He's our favorite.
Super talented. we love their whole crew.
Yeah.
Amazing people there. And what a great art department also.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Now, I hate to put you guys on the spot. You know that it's 2019, and I am a spoiled, entitled gamer. I know you're celebrating the launch. Congratulations, yada yada yada. Do you plan on doing DLC for this, or is this this is the vision we had and it's out?
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
We don't have any specific plans right now. That's not totally true. We are looking into some things, but
If you want to get started on a Concrete Genie 2, I won't stop you. Just go work on that.
I think we're still in that moment where people are getting their hands on it. We'll see how things go.
Yeah, I imagine that's the thing of like you cross the finish line and immediately people are like, you want to run another race?
No, I
If
mean,
you want it's starting right now if you want
So
to.
somebody tweeted that at us yesterday. When's Concrete Genie 2 going to get done? And I
You
was
broke
like,
down in
wow.
tears.
No, initially, to be honest, I thought that would have been my reaction, but it was actually incredibly touching that
Sure.
somebody's played it and they want more straight away. I think the interesting thing for us is that the opportunity to do new IP is so precious in this day and age that the idea of doing something original again is very exciting.
Of
But
course.
we've loved the time we spent in this world, so you never know.
Yeah, I'm torn on it because I can see it and want it both ways.
Yeah.
Where, of course, I love this world. I love Ash. I love what you guys have done. But it's like, do I need more of that? Or is it just a perfect, there it is on the shelf, and
Right.
let's see what's next?
I think for us too, if the team came up with a really compelling piece of gameplay or
Yeah.
an amazing story that might fit with continuing this, then I'm sure it's something that we would consider.
Yeah.
Because it's really important for us to make sure that the team feels inspired by what they're working on, because they're
Right.
dedicating so much time and effort toward it.
Yeah.
And a number and years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's nice that it will be our decision as well. You know, the company never puts mandates on you to do things like that.
Sure. But I'm sure Shuhei's walked in before with a crowbar and been like, a nice car outside. It's a shame if something happened to it. Maybe you should make another Concrete Genie.
And urban illustration or graffiti art definitely had a big
Oh, sure.
impact on inspiring kind of what happens to the city. And one of the cities Dom grew up.
Oh, yeah,
near,
that's right. Is
just to
it?
speak to Cool Greg's interest.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, you know, my hometown in England, Bristol, has got a long history of urban illustration with Banksy and other people coming from there, and there are large parts of that city that have been rejuvenated with community-driven art projects. They still have huge festivals each year where they celebrate that, and they have their local celebrated urban artists and illustrators sit down with the community and they paint things together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is amazing, you know. And so I was kind of talking about this with the team, and then Jing, our designer, had a really similar phenomenon, but from a completely different perspective, from her hometown in China.
Oh, yeah.
And from she grew up in a fishing village that had been impacted by growth in industry and things like that. And she shared all these pictures of how the kids in the schools there would put beautiful coloured paintings and artwork up on the walls around that town to rejuvenate it and brighten it up. And it's just like, wow, we have these things in common that I never would have thought we would have in common. And that's where a lot of the painting the town back to life came from.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty funny as you collect more brushes, not to reveal too much, but you can even put a beehive on top of one of the genie's heads.
I was a big fan of the spider web.
Yeah, spider web.
I love the spider web.
It's a great collaboration between Lansing, our character designer, and our senior engineer, David, about trying to make sure those things kind of come to life also on the genies.
Yeah, making all of the animations work with the bodies, no matter how you painted them, was tricky.
It's such an interesting addition, you know, because it's not something I would ever thought of. I would have been like, draw the body and the arms, but like to go in and have these little customization features so that when they do come back later, right, because they're all in your world, they're all running around. It's interesting to be like, I remember you. I remember when I did that.
It was a really big breakthrough just to have a genie walk and turn and walk onto another wall for us.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a bit under the hood just to make that happen.
I can't imagine.
And the fact that
the
they
other
can
side
kind
of
of follow you throughout the city took us quite a bit of time to achieve.
Oh, that's just up there, above you now. Yeah.
There you go. So what next then for Pixel Lopez? You guys get to take a break, take a breath?
We will take a break and then come back and start concepting and being creative again.
Great. Cool, Greg, you dragging a PlayStation 4 home to play?
Yeah, I think so, man. I'll have to.
Oh, yeah, totally. You can take Kevin's. Okay, don't take Kevin's. He doesn't like that.
There's a couple there.
Oh, they're in the background.
Maybe a little bit to the left as well. There you go.
Not those dudes again.
And it's even though we're kind of in the smallest corner of Worldwide Studios, we sit just above the music department. So we had our composer Sam actually brought in quite a few different artists to play some of the music you're hearing.
That's another thing I thought was so well done.
Yeah, the score is incredible. So happy with how that turned out. Sam's done an amazing job. We've been lucky to be able to work with a composer from the very beginning, which is not that usual as well, So Sam would write original music for our prototypes, which when you're trying to convey something that has so much emotion wrapped up in it is incredibly important. But that's not the usual way. Usually a composer would come in much later in the game.
Sure.
But it's been great.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think Concrete Genie is awesome. It's out now. Everybody go pick it up. Thank you guys so much for spending your day with us. I know it's a big week for you. You have a million things going on.
Thank you so much for having us. We've really appreciated it.
No problem. I think Cool Greg appreciated it too.
Yeah, dude, this was awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you so
I
much.
love the drawing and all the presents, man. Really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of Concrete Genie? Let us know in the Twitch chat before we turn it off. Then come back tomorrow. Patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. We'll be talking about Concrete Genie on the Kinda Funny Games cast live at 2 p.m. If you have no bucks to toss our way and watch live, no big deal. You can get the show Monday. Podcast services, no pre and post show, no live stuff. You know what it's like. YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames. And until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.